Then we're going to have our first presentation, which will be Power BI Overview by Wallbridge. This is a 100 level, getting us started, kind of intro to. We have someone that has offered to do a more in-depth technical presentation, so I thought him in the queue hopefully for after summer. So if people are interested, let me know, we'll make sure that happens. And then I'm going to go last, simply because I could talk about this for an hour, so let's see how much time we have left. I'm going to do a OneNote feature comparison. So essentially there's 3 apps you can use, or 3 ways you can use OneNote. So I'll show you the features in each of them and what might make sense for you as a user. But now, and then if we have time, we can do just a roundtable discussion, ask the panel, see what people are interested in learning. So I'm going to disconnect and flip this over to Alec. Let's go.
Or is it video?
Video. Should be in the video setting. Good question.
Does it all do it from that, or is it slowly rotating? Is it slowly rotating, or is it just doing? You can see.
Create a complete picture. I'll post it later. You'll see. It's pretty cool.
I'm pretty excited.
Look up my nostrils here.
Can I do something good?
Let's get out to kids' birthday parties.
That's exciting. Whole new business model.
Yeah?
I don't think so.
I'll let you know when I can secure my first birthday.
Yes. Well, I'll be dressed as a clown.
So you'll just be wearing what you're wearing now? So you'll just be wearing what you're wearing now?
Kelly, are you online? Am I online?
Yeah.
Yep. I am.
How you doing, Doc?
Good, how are you?
You're going to switch computers?
Excited to come and check out this user group.
Yeah.
Are you going the Office 365 group then?
It's nothing like a user group plus some technical.
Yeah, I mean, this is one small piece of it. Office 365 is huge.
Oh, sure.
This is one small glimpse of one piece of it.
While I'm getting this up, anybody else has a surface I could view as well?
I have a love-hate relationship with mine.
Yeah, love-hate relationship is a good way to. Oh, we have no. Let's try it.
I'll keep signing.
No promises.
Oh, yay!
Okay, that's not powerful. That's okay. So, what is crossing?
Sensitive connection.
Yeah. So yeah, Office 365. We need a new one of those. What's new? Big month for all this because on May 4th, I'm not sure if everybody else tuned in, but Microsoft delivered the future of SharePoint event, which really in lots of ways was the future of Office 365 event. The other big news this month, if you haven't heard, is that now we have Office 365 Canadian data centers online in Canada. We have 2 of them. We have 2 of them, mostly because Microsoft needs to do redundancy between the data centers, and if the US is the redundant, then there's no point having them to begin with. The way that it is working right now, as far as we know, is that if you sign up for a new Office 365 tenancy today and put Canada as your location, you will be set up with a Canadian tenancy. If you have an existing tenancy, as long as your location is set to Canada, you'll be receiving notice that you'll be moved to Canada within the next couple months. So if you need to have proof for your organization where your data is within the Office 365 admin panel, There's a Where's My Data tab that shows you where your data is hosted between the 2 data centers. You can actually go in there and see which data center you're coming off of. So not a whole lot more to say about that, except that judging by what's happened in Australia over the last couple of years, what's happened in countries in Europe, the dominoes are all about to start to fall in terms of organizations going 365, especially on the government side. I think equally as exciting, coming out of the May 4th event, hearing what the future of SharePoint is going to hold. We had sort of been leaning 2 ways that potentially it actually sounded like they were getting rid of the name SharePoint, which is going to become more and more a piece of Office 365. They seem to have now gone in a completely other direction, and this really is about SharePoint being a fundamental core of Office 365, and sort of hearing how those pieces are going to unfold. More the topic of our other user group, for those of you who have organizations with SharePoint on-premise. They also very much clarify what the feature of that's going to look like, which is basically that once you get SharePoint 2016, they're going to be doing what's called feature packs, which sound a lot like service packs, but it's new. Basically, those feature packs are going to be all the features that you're getting in Office 365 on a day-to-day basis, rolled up into quarterly feature packs and pushed down for users on-prem. So definitely a lot coming there as well. So what did we hear about in that event? 4 main points I think that it distilled down to. I guess a fifth that I haven't put here is that groups are really becoming more and more at the heart of Office 365. So if you haven't tried out yet, they started being called Outlook groups, then they got just called groups, and more it's been tied into different pieces. For example, when Planner rolled out a few months ago, if you're creating a plan, you have to have a group. When Sean talks about Power BI, same thing. To collaborate on Power BI, you have to have a group. And now the last piece that we talked about SharePoint, if you have a team site, you will also have an Office 365 group that corresponds to it. So an interesting sort of piece there. In the what's new, more specifically, that we have now a SharePoint app and responsive mobile experience. So a lot of companies such as ourselves have spent a large amount of time trying to fight with SharePoint to make it responsive for your device. You'll now have responsive capability out of the box. When I say responsive, I mean that it fits to whatever screen size you're on. So if you're on a mobile device, or if you shrink your browser down, you'll get the nice mobile experience. And there will be a SharePoint native app coming to the devices. So that's coming for iOS this quarter and for Android next quarter. I didn't even mention Windows Phone. I have no idea when the SharePoint app's coming, but at some point. They basically, for the app experience, it's giving you easy access to your documents, to the functionality that's been built, and they're really pitching this concept of intranet in your pocket. So as you build out your SharePoint portal, that you'll have access to all of that in a native app experience on your devices. It's going to mean a huge change for companies like SharePlus, that sort of made their living out of making mobile apps for SharePoint. In terms of the customization side of SharePoint, it has a huge impact as well. For those of you that have worked a lot in SharePoint, traditionally we've customized master pages to make it look the way we want it to look. We've talked with this user group a couple times now about how Microsoft, for a couple of years, has been saying that is not the way to go. And the reason being that they need to be able to push out new features to your master pages to accommodate things like the new mobile experience. If you've taken that and customized it, you're going to be kind of pooped. We're also, basically what's happening, we've seen it a couple places with first release on, is that when you go to those new features, the site just looks like the out-of-the-box SharePoint site for specs and then your customization. So there's new patterns and practices out there in terms of how you should be customizing the look and feel. And on that piece of it, the last point that I have up there, the SharePoint Framework is sort of a gift to developers. Traditionally, how we customize SharePoint is very much by trying to take the pieces that Microsoft gives us, rearrange them, change the look, force it into what we need it to be. We now have a complete framework where you can truly write custom SharePoint experiences from start to end using new development practices like AngularJS, and do proper things like source control and all the stuff that modern web developers have been doing for years, and we've been stuck kind of in the dark trying to bash pieces together. Really conducive to the low-code, no-code model, which we're all really excited about, where basically you just write the code you need to write, but be able to tie into the rest of SharePoint at the same time. So pretty excited to see that. That's coming next quarter, so not a whole lot of clarity about it. Kind of split into the development community. Those of us who've been doing SharePoint online for a long time are really excited about it. the sort of more traditional developers really upset about it, but definitely coming and definitely, I think, very exciting. Two other pieces that they'll show on the next slide, that we have a new SharePoint homepage concept, going very much to the tile look, kind of the Pinterest style, thank you, that's been around for a while, and the corresponding mobile app experience. So Microsoft said that all these new modern portal experiences that they've built with the SharePoint Framework, which is new for developers. We'll be able to use that same technology to create whatever we want going forward. And if it's built with that new technology, it'll work on the mobile app. You might have already seen if you're using SharePoint Online and your tenancy is in first release, which we don't recommend for anybody except people who are in sort of a sandbox environment. You will see when you go to a document library, it says try out the new document library experience, and it goes to, I think Sean showed it off last month, sort of drag and drop tile experience. That's sort of rolling all into this, but they did clarify that if you have older customizations done, older ways of doing things, you can switch your site into this classic mode, which is coming as well. So a lot of potential out there. I think a lot of change coming for people who've been using SharePoint Online. If you've customized it the right way, you should be good to go. It's going to be the ones that are kind of customized incorrectly that are kind of going to struggle through this process. So definitely lots of excitement on that. PowerApps rolling out. Anybody here actually have their preview and played with it yet? A little bit? Yeah. So PowerApps is Microsoft's, at first it was billed as a replacement to InfoPath, which as we all know is end of life support is 2026, and still being pushed out, sadly. But this was kind of Microsoft's capability to create really nice form experiences that worked on mobile devices. It is truly a mobile-first project, meaning that there is no web browser experience for this. You can create forms that get data into SharePoint, customize list forms with PowerApps, interact with things like Salesforce and other CRM platforms, external data, but it really is all about the mobile app. There's now a Windows 10 app for it as well on the desktop, but there is no in-browser experience. So on that side, it's an interesting approach that they've taken. I think they're definitely shooting for the future, and it's definitely a good practice going forward. I think there will be a big gap to fill, though, between sort of the current technology and this technology, because most employees sit at their desks for their day and use their web browser, and they still need to support that piece. So be interesting to see where this goes. You can start a preview of this right now. I think there's a bit of a wait list for the preview, so if you sign up, you won't get it right away. But it is pretty exciting once you get it. Just be able to drag and drop. You create your mobile app. Basically, your end user has to have PowerApps on their phone. And then they sort of subscribe to your app within it, and they can use your company's data. If you use mobile device management for your organization, you can push these apps out to your users as well. So on May 4th, this officially went into like public preview. It was in private preview before, so we're still a couple of years probably away from a general release, although with Microsoft's timelines being sped up, who knows, it could be way sooner than that. This is what I talked about when I sort of introduced myself. Microsoft Flow, pretty cool platform. For those of you who use Zapier or Thank you. Very similar concept. So what it is that you can take data from platform A, do something to it, and have it wind up in platform B. So maybe whenever something gets created in Salesforce, I want something to happen in SharePoint, or maybe when something happens in my SQL custom database, some steps kick off and something uploads to Slack or Google Drive. This is just a sampling of the products that it supports. They kind of put these out because it's the most popular. It supports a whole lot of things. Ties with Office 365 are amazing. So you might have maybe your support receiver mailbox, which is a licensed mailbox in Office 365. Whenever a message comes into that 365 mailbox, you want to trigger a set of actions. You can trigger that set of actions with Flow. We've been doing stuff like this for a long time, connecting things like SharePoint and Yammer together. We've had to do them in really kind of more custom web service ways. This is like drag and drop, visual, exciting. It's pretty powerful. So this is available right now to play with. Go ahead and sign up and use. I think officially it's in beta preview right now. So basically they're just saying not necessarily for production use yet. They've confirmed that this will not replace workflow in Microsoft SharePoint. For those of you that have built workflows before, basically it'll tie in with workflows. You can have a workflow call out to flow form actions, but basically it opens up SharePoint and Office 365 to connectivity with the rest of the world, basically. So they've committed to adding new actions all the time. I would highly recommend, if you go in there and you're missing something that you need, go onto their user voice and vote it up, or get people started voting on it. Microsoft is committed to listening to user feedback more so than ever right now by directive. So now's the time to have your voice kind of heard. And it sounds like we'll do a presentation on this. Some other little enhancements. Skype for Business is now available in Outlook Web Access. When they actually first launched 365, the link, it was there and then it went away and now it's back. So you have a browser-based experience for Skype. I believe it's only instant messaging, though, right? Sean, you can't call from the browser yet.
I saw a call button, but
And they're starting to get integrated more with the HTML5. They're starting to build that out.
So definitely in its infancy. This is in first release only right now. Some diagnostic tools for Office 365. They sort of had these as pieces throughout the different products. Like for a long time, there's been an Exchange troubleshooting tool and that kind of stuff. Now they've rolled it all up into one sort of central and having some kind of problem with Office 365. Click some buttons and it should help guide you. I'm hoping, if you ever use the, when you try to print and it's like, printer doesn't work, click here to troubleshoot. I'm hoping it's better than that experience. It does have a lot of great insight, especially if you're doing things like Active Directory synchronization and it's not working. This helps you figure out at what point it's failing. So it's a pretty powerful little tool. Gig Jam. So I have not received my preview yet. I signed up for it a couple weeks ago, so I haven't actually touched it. Full disclaimer. Basically, what it sounds like is a lot of the ways what they talked about OneNote being when OneNote was first launched. It seems to be like the next version of that. When OneNote was first released, the big thing was you could take video and text and picture and throw them all into one kind of canvas. This is basically a digital canvas where you can take information from across multiple sources, be that your email, Dynamics CRM, Salesforce, Wunderlist, Amazon Web Services is there, Outlook, 365 Mail, that kind of stuff. Bring it together on one canvas and have a dashboard experience that you can work with, have data flowing between the pieces, and then share those dashboards out. To me, there seems to be some overlap a little bit with Flow, but I think this is more to do less with creating workflow process and more about just moving information back and forth. So this will be one too that we present on more thoroughly. Does anybody here have it yet? Tried it? Have any more insight than what I just said? Yeah. So I'm very excited to get my hands on it. It's another one that's come out of this Microsoft Garage program. There's been a couple now. Find Time is one. Planner was originally part of it too. Basically, it sounds like internally at Microsoft, they've done the Google model where they're enforcing that their employees spend a certain percentage of time developing new ideas, and they sort of pick the best ones and elevate them up to full product status. That's what this is right now. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets renamed. Before it goes into full production. So definitely coming. I think what these really illustrate is sort of a seismic shift in how Microsoft handles change management. We've been talking about it for a while, that they're going evergreen, they're going agile, all these things they're going to mean. And we've seen it a bit, it's Office 2016 came out way faster, you're seeing new features every day, but now we're really seeing it. Like we're really seeing every couple of weeks, every couple of months, major new products. And then based on the telemetry, they're going to basically say whether they continue moving forward or not. Risk in the sense of our organization committing 100% to something and then it disappears. But I think huge benefit too to your end users. So I think a big challenge for IT, we've talked a lot about IT, instead of becoming the experts that are building these tools, we become the curators of what's possible. So let me hear your problem, let me show you the solution that fits that within the suite that we have available. One last little one. Trying to find something for Mac users out there. Office 2016 for Mac now supports rich text editing. It almost kind of did, but it was quite limited. Now you have the same experience on PC. You can crop photos right inside it, set the height and width and all that kind of fancy stuff. So basically just aligning Outlook 2016 for Mac with the PC experience. That's what I have for what's new. I'll turn it over to Sean for BI, and then if you have more questions at the end, we can sort of
Any questions right now?
Yeah,
While
we'll
we switch
switch pages.
presenters?
Any questions on the Canadian Data Center stuff?
I gotta think there's some about what's real and what's not.
Everyone's just jumping in. Be careful. not all of it's there just yet.
Any timelines on some of the other cases?
Well, I was just going to show a screen here. So when they made the announcement, only Exchange was in Canada. So it wasn't like 365. Just Exchange. So I just checked the page today, SharePoint's on there now. But Yammer, no, lots of other stuff.
And I'm not even sure. Are they going to be moving Yammer at all?
Such a...
Yammer's never going to.
I didn't think so.
Ask that question.
Yeah.
From what we've heard.
I don't know, because they moved into Microsoft data center, so that might have been the earliest. But they used to be on the separate earthquake fault line, and so they moved that. So they solved that problem, but they moved it into Microsoft control. And at that point, when they start carving up data, so where it's at rest, I think that was part of their plan. I'm sure that was just something that already included. So yeah, if you go to the Office, or not the Azure, because that is ultimately the underlying foundation of Microsoft's cloud. You select a region. Canada appeared right last week. So over here on the right, this is what you're watching for. So last week when they made the announcement, only Exchange was there. SharePoint appears. I don't know when it added. Sometime in the past couple days. But Skype for Business, Sway. It's amazing Sway is listed. There is. I mean, definitely Sway's awesome and cool stuff. But I mean, it's not an enterprise data platform, So it's interesting. It gets its own bullet when other core services don't yet. But so Skype for Business, Yammer, Sway, and Planner are not in there yet.
And Azure AD is another interesting piece.
Right, because they've broken that out.
Yeah.
Their bullets are a little confusing to read here, but yes, CRM is another. So depending on what you define as data, not all of it's at rest in Canada. And everyone understands what at rest means, right? Have you heard that term?
No.
So what they mean is it's going to be on hard drives in Canada, or maybe not hard drives, whatever storage, now they're using air molecules.
Storage.
You've seen the videos where they're putting these data centers underwater now, to keep them cool and stuff, and it's pretty crazy. But at rest means that's where it's living. While it's bouncing around across routers and switches and stuff, it's going to be wherever. But that's always been true, and anyone that believes otherwise has been missing the last 20 years. So long as it lives on the server, can't be grabbed by Trump and his people, we'll be good.
Yeah. There's other agreements.
Anybody that believes that it can't be grabbed at a Canadian data center by the American government.
Exactly.
Yeah, but nobody wants our data. Our data's so
Very polite.
all we do is
We're
store maple
figure it
syrup
out.
here. We're fine. So I've got a 15-minute block here, so I'm going to chug through here. I'm not going to build a Power BI because honestly, although it's actually really quick and it's designed to be simplified, even 15 minutes by the time you connect and talk about what you're trying to do, we'll be gone. So Mark is going to do, I think, what's the time frame? Probably September, because we're shutting down.
September will be our first, fall.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about why it exists and break it down into pieces and let you know which parts are free and which parts aren't. And if I've got a couple minutes, I'll go and take you to some existing BI that exists. But as far as constructing it, just know that if you've ever worked in Excel and done a pivot table and said make it a chart, and then point a couple of arrows at the data, same thing. It's just now they've really simplified the stack. And really, when you think about how much it costs to refresh data and keep it live, in the past, we're talking any organization would start at $80,000 to get it for $20 a month per user is pretty incredible achievement. So, is it up there? Yes, it's Power BI. Can't help myself. Need a little image. So I'll have a brief history of BI, the Power BI components that exist today. And there's time to do it. My name's Sean.
You and Jedi.
Well, there's no time for that. So. My jokes are pretty sad anyway. So I just want to do how we got here. If any of you've done, how many people have done Power Pivot and done the BI stack? Pretty ironic that we're all working in Excel again, because we actually weren't doing that for BI. But we started in Excel. Way back when, we made a nice chart. But how we got it to people was we stuck it in an email and delivered it, or we printed it. And that was how we presented our BI. So I'm putting that before SharePoint. People are still doing it today. Why? I don't know, but we are. Then along came SharePoint 2007. I'm not counting SharePoint 2003 in this group. For the most part, we're very apologetic for SharePoint 2003. We don't mention it. Like Windows ME or Windows Vista. So our BI, outside of putting screenshots on pages was SQL reporting services, which is not really part of SharePoint. We